Object showed the way for the Israelites during the day, and to illuminate the area by night. It is possible that this is how technologically primitive people tried to describe the flying saucer. Soon after, the Israelites rebelled against Moses. To increase his authority, God announces the descent to Mount Sinai in 3 days, which will be preceded by a trumpet blast. Then the Israelites are to come up the hill to see the glory of the Lord with their own eyes. After 3 days, the trumpet sounds and God comes to Mount Sinai. Here is a description of this event. On the morning of the 3rd day there was thunder and lightning, and a thick cloud spread over the mountain, and a mighty trumpet sounded so that all the people in the camp trembled with fear. Moses led the people out of the camp to meet God and set him up at the foot of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was all shrouded in smoke, for the Lord descended on it with fire. And the smoke rose from it, as if from a furnace, and the whole mountain was trembling greatly. The trumpet's voice grew louder and louder. Moses spoke and God answered him in the thunder. The Lord descended on Mount Sinai, to its summit. Here we have an intriguing account of how he came to Mount Sinai in a cloud with running and noise. Perhaps we are talking about the landing of a spacecraft to which extraterrestrials have deliberately added audio and visual effects to make a huge impression on the technologically primitive Israelites. Then God invites Moses to go up Mount Sinai to collect the tablets of stone commandments. Here is a description of this event. And when Moses went up the mountain, a cloud covered it. The glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai and was covered in a cloud for 6 days. On the 7th day, the Lord called Moses from the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the glory of the Lord in the eyes of the Israelites was like a devouring fire on the top of a mountain. Here we have another interesting description of the glory of the Lord described as a shining cloud that shimmers with light. Thousands of Israelites witnessed this event. The next account comes from the book of Daniel, in which the prophet Daniel gives the following description. I watched as the thrones were raised and the Ancient One took his seat. His robe was as white as snow, and the hair of his head was as if pure wool. His throne was fiery flames, its wheels a blazing fire. I saw in the night visions, and behold, in the clouds of heaven arrives the Son of Man. The prophet Daniel watches the vehicle he describes as a fiery throne with wheels on the clouds of heaven. This is how a primitive technological man from 2,500 years ago would try to describe an aerial vehicle. The last interesting description is found in the book of Ezekiel, in which the prophet Ezekiel describes a strange vehicle that descended into it from heaven. I am quoting, I watched, and behold, a fierce wind came from the north, a great cloud, and it was blazing, and a glow around it. And from its center something like the luster of an alloy of gold and silver emanating from the center of the fire. The blazing fire and the radiant shimmer of gold with silver can be words for a spaceship and flashing lights. Then Ezekiel describes 4 living creatures, around which are 4 metallic circles. I am quoting, there was 1 wheel on the earth by each of these 4 living creatures. The appearance of these wheels and their workmanship were distinguished by the sheen of a Tarshish. And all 4 had the same appearance and appeared to be made with 1 wheel inside the other. They could walk in 4 directions. When they were walking, they did not turn around as they walked. Ezekiel must have described the appearance of small flying saucers, which are referred to as wheels shining like Tarshish. He also describes the way flying saucers move, which he does very well for a technologically primitive human. 1 wheel inside the other, and when they walked they did not turn around. All these accounts were written down long ago by people who tried to describe what they saw in words and concepts available to them at the time. We have the testimonies described here, and all we have left is an interpretation of the story. Are these descriptions the result of their exuberant imaginations? Or are they descriptions of what ancient people saw with their own eyes? God would hardly need spacecraft. And it would be difficult for ancient people to come up with descriptions of technical devices made of metal floating in the air, flying wheels of flickering lights, and a whole lot of technology that Earthlings only began to develop in the modern era. Perhaps these descriptions are traces of the ancients' contact with extraterrestrials who, due to a technological misunderstanding, were considered divine beings. All ancient cultures reported this. You can search for further traces by subscribing to the Cosmic Stories channel.